Hey, fight fans, welcome back to Carlo Prusa MMA. Today we have a reoccurring guest of the show. He is heavyweight Mr. Darion Abbey. He's going back into action in Iowa this weekend. He is taking on Mr. Mark Currier, co-main event of North Iowa Fights 20. Darion, what's up, man?
Not a whole lot, man. Just been grinding, freaking getting ready for this scrap. I'm actually, funny enough, I was just watching film on this guy again before we started this call. So locked in on this guy and ready to go handle business.
Very cool, man. You get an opportunity to fight at home. You get to go back to Iowa, big co-main event spot here. Did this just seem right, man? Was this the right move to go home and get a good fight in?
Yeah, 100%. Especially after the last fight. I mean, it didn't go my way. So it's kind of good little turnaround. Mark's been in the game a while too. He's been to Bellator, I think, a couple times. And then just to be home, it's Thanksgiving week. Get to be home, see my family, be with my mom, be with my dad, be with my brothers and sisters, and kind of just relax for fight week for once, and then go perform on Saturday.
You know, last time we saw you in action was XFC in Lakeland a little earlier this year. You got to headline it against Tim Johnson. You know, the contest didn't go as the way that you thought, but what was that whole experience like, man, being able to headline?
Now when I look back on it, I'm like, still sucks. I don't think you ever get over a loss, even if you go and win 10 more. I think that one that you lost still kind of eats at you forever. So that was a big one. I thought that was my moment. I thought I was well prepared. Just made a couple stupid mistakes, small but stupid mistakes when he got me up against the cage. I should have kept my underhooks, but I got in such a violent mindset that I just fucked up and paid the price for it. You know, unfortunately, that's the game. Tim's been around with the best people. He's fought the best people. You know, he's made that walk. The walk that I made against him, he's made that against other guys 1,000 times. So it's like, experience is everything in this game, you know, and he got me. So kudos to him still.
You know, during that card, you got to share it with one of your best friends, Mr. Dylan O'Sullivan. Was that a pretty cool experience?
Man, that was great. That was the highlight of the whole night. You know, we both lost, but it was like it was definitely great. And he's actually not in Florida right now, so I haven't seen him in a while. And talk about him feels good. But yeah, man, sharing it with Dylan was great. I hope we can definitely do that again. Hopefully on a bigger card for sure.
You know, you just mentioned the guy that you're fighting, a Bellator veteran. You know, you go from a guy, Tim Johnson, who's on the UFC, Bellator, PFL, going to another Bellator guy. Do you think now, from where you are in your career, is the goal to try to fight high-level competition like this?
I feel like that's all I have ever freaking done ever since. Like, if you look at my pro record, like, everything I've done is against guys that are good, you know, have been somewhere. Like, even like Steve Mowry, a couple of the other, and then the other two were on The Ultimate Fighter, you know. So like everybody I've lost to has been someone that's good, you know, worthy of losing to, I guess you could say. But yeah, fighting Tim, fighting Steve, those losing to big guys like that, it definitely and making that walk, it definitely is it's got to make you grow, you know. Even if you don't feel it, it's there, you know. I don't think I'll have a walk where it's like, because I didn't think in the moment, I was thinking, I don't think I was like as nervous, but then I looked back on it and I was like, I was scared as shit going into that Tim fight. So I think just having those nerves alone kind of makes you grow regardless.
So overall, what do you think of Mark as an opponent?
He's big. That's about all I got, to be honest. He's big. He doesn't move too well. He's not particularly good anywhere. Like, I'm not trying to bash the guy, but I don't think he got anything for me, really. That's just blunt as I can be.
Are you expecting this one to go less than a round?
Game plan? No. Stylistically, probably. You know, game plan, I'd probably take him down, make him tired. Everything I've watched, his wrestling's not good at all. So probably going to try to tire him out a little bit, and then second round, just put the pace on him and get him out of there after that. I think me just being me wins this fight.
You know, as being a heavyweight, I mean, you kind of go into all contests with, you know, the mindset that this may not go long.
Not long at all. Blink and it's over, you know. It could touch gloves. I punch him in the face. He could go down. Unfortunately, he could punch me in the face. I could go down. Anything could happen at heavyweight. That's what's great about heavyweight. You could have the worst heavyweight you've ever seen ever going against the best heavyweight ever. If they land that one stupid punch that you wasn't paying attention to, it's a wrap.
You know, what do you think it is? You see all these different promotions, heavyweights. A lot of times you see heavyweights co-main events, heavyweights as main events. People love the heavyweights. Is that just the action, man?
I 100%. That's exactly why it don't last long. You know, you can have 5 boring fights leading up to that main event, but you know that main event's. I mean, it could go. That's what sucks about heavyweight though, because it could either go one of two ways. It could either be super quick and exciting, or it could be long, drawn out, and just like, what the hell are we doing here? You know, like. But then you have them random fights that are like Kane and Junior Dos Santos back in the day, where it was 5 rounds of just straight chaos. You know, but you don't see that too often.
You know, in addition to fighting gloved MMA, you've also been known to take the gloves off. You've done a little game bred action. Took out Frank Tate your last time, I believe. How did you enjoy doing that?
I want to say I like it more, but I've still I've had 2 fights. One of them was a 15-minute fight, and the other one was like 2 minutes. But I've still yet to like really get hit in a bare knuckle fight. So to be like, I like one or the other better, I really don't know if I like bare knuckle as much as I think I do, you know, because I haven't, like, I've been hit, but it's never been like I haven't been cut. I haven't been like nothing, no bruises, nothing. So I've been fortunate in that aspect, but until I get cracked, I really can't even answer that, I don't think.
What were the reactions like from people when you told them you were going to try out Game Bred for the first time?
My mom hated it. My mom said she wasn't going to watch it. I don't think she did watch it. But my other friends are all for it, you know, people who like are close to it. Oh yeah, hell yeah, do that. But then my mom is just like, nah. She's like, I didn't like you starting MMA to begin with, but I grew on me, but I won't watch you fight bare knuckle. Which is, I respect that.
Since you've done the bare knuckle, since you put the gloves on, do you find any benefits to it? Obviously, you know, when you have the gloves off, you got to worry about your hands a little bit, so you focus a little more on accuracy with your punches. Do you think that positively translates when you put the gloves back on?
Defensively, I think it helps you a lot because I think you're more locked in on your defense when you're doing the bare knuckle. So I think when you switch over, it kind of helps you a little bit. And then also punching power wise, like I don't feel like I need to throw my punches as hard as I need to anymore in an MMA fight, because I know that like if I just touch you, that's all I need to do is just touch you, especially at heavyweight, you know. So I don't need to throw with all that power, which I learned from bare knuckle, just placing shots. It's not the same. Obviously, there's padding, a little bit of padding, but it's not much, you know. So like there's definitely benefits to doing it, I think. And again, until I get cracked, it's like I don't really know the cons yet.
You know, you train at one of the best gyms in the world, obviously, Kill Cliff FC. Some great guys who train over there. You know, the Ian Garys of the world, Brendan Allens of the world, the Impas, Jay Sherman, and we can go on and on here. But how did you find your way from Iowa over to South Florida?
I fought Steve Murray for Bellator, and then we just became good friends over Instagram. And I think 2020, I was in that time where I was like, all right, it's time for me to go somewhere and leave Iowa. And I was teetering Florida or Vegas. I visited Vegas right before COVID happened, and then I visited Florida during COVID, and I just fell in love with just Florida in general, you know, like the desert kind of turned me off a little bit, and then the beach was like, all right, well, the beach is right there, so we'll pick Florida. And I think it was the right decision for sure.
Or did you happen to be in the casino a couple months ago when Brendan Allen got into a Marvin Vittori? Were you part of that?
I don't recall what you're even talking about. No, I was there, but I had left like 10 minutes before that happened, so I wasn't a part of it, unfortunately. I'm kind of glad too, because I'm not good in those type of situations. Not good to be around. I would have been on the internet as well. I didn't need that.
I definitely got a kick of watching Chase Sherman try to break that thing up.
He had an all people's chase. And then I said that to him. I was like, out of all people, you're the one breaking it up. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, dude, like, no. He's funny. That's my boy.
After doing this for a while, man, has the goals changed from what it was when you first started out doing this journey?
100%. When I first started, it was just glory, like, oh, I'm doing, like, my friends think I'm cool. And I can say one day maybe I got to the UFC. Like, that was, like, what drawn me to it when I first, like, as an amateur. And then you start getting paid to do it, and that definitely shifts the goal. Like, oh, well. And then you get hit in the head, and you start training for a couple years at it. Like, I've been training now for 8 years, and the wear and tear is starting to get to you a little bit. So, like, now it's like, okay, well, I need something to get out of this, like 6-4 now. So I'm like, I need to I got to put the gas on, and my goals now is just to squeeze as much out of this game as I possibly can. Obviously, the goal is still to, like, have a great career, get to the UFC, get a world title if God wills it, But right now, it's just the goal is just to fight and get much out of this game as I possibly can, because you only have so much time to do it, and I'm not getting any younger.
Speaking of the UFC, you were at the Contender Series a few months ago with Bailey. Obviously, performance didn't go the way that you guys hoped there, but what was it like, being there, being at the apex, seeing it? Did that give you some motivation to get there?
100% some motivation. It's hard not to. I remember I was sitting there with Sean Soriano right before the day before when he was weighing in. Bailey was doing all that stuff. We went and sat by the cage, and he was just like, just take it all in. And sure enough, I sat there for like 5 minutes, just sitting there. I walked in the cage. I was like, yeah, like, I feel like one day I'll be there. I feel like I definitely have the skills to do so. So let's just keep putting it together, keep winning, and then it'll happen.
Do you think fighting is more mental than it is physical?
100%. If I had to put a percentage on it, I would say 80 to 90% mental and the rest physical. Like, it's way more mentally hard than it is physically challenging. It's so much easier. It's so easy to just go and do something active, let alone, but then you start to have to think, okay, well, 10 weeks from now, I have to get in a car crash, basically, and that's harder to think about than just waking up and just going to do it, So I always felt like I've done better on, like, short notice fights where I, like, only have like a week or two I have to think about it versus 10 weeks I have to think about it, because in that 10 weeks I'm like, fuck, man. But I've been doing it so long now, I've gotten to the point where, like, I didn't really start thinking like hard about this fight till like 2 weeks ago. Like, I knew I had a fight coming up. I knew I was preparing for it, but the mental, like, click where it was rolling over, it didn't click for like a couple weeks ago. It finally rolled over.
You think in this day and age, to try to chase the dream, try to make it the biggest show as possible, do you have to be trained in the year round?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Unless you're injured, you gotta be training. But it's hard too. I also understand that, like, guys that aren't in the UFC and we're, like, coming up, I feel like we definitely have it harder than the guys that are there. Obviously, they're making them not big bucks, but they're making more money. They have the sponsors, stuff like that. But the guys coming up, it's so much harder because we got to work. We got a lot of you guys have families. Sometimes, like, guys got to leave for work, or like you work nights, you work days. Like, the training schedule's just not the same. So it's hard to train year round. So I get it,
You kind of just touched upon it, but so many people watch this sport in this day and age. It's crazy how culturally accepted MMA is. It's up there, basketball and baseball and hockey, but very few people, unless you're a fighter around this, know what this actually is. They see the McGregors, the Joneses, the Usmans, and they're like, what a life. This must be amazing to be a professional fighter. Little do they know the road is to get there, especially
they don't know what it took for them to get to that place. That's, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, this better than anyone. You're not making millions of dollars fighting on the regional scene. A lot of guys have the 9 to 5 jobs, kids, wife. They have to go pay to train. They have to dedicate hours and hours of training, wake up early, do their jobs, be exhausted, go train, go deal with killers who want it as bad as they do. And they have to do this day in and day out, day in and day out. What's made you keep kicking and punching through it all?
Some of you, and it's crazy. Some of them guys are UFC fighters. That's what's sad. The money obviously is the drive, the end goal. But like, I've kind of just fell in love with the life, being on a professional team, like a real professional team, like Kill Cliff, every day, like you're kind of like, it's like you're at a university type feel, so it's like it's easy to fall into that lifestyle and just make it your life, to where like if I go do something different, I don't even feel like it's like I'm in the right place. I still do my job. Like I work at the bar, so I work at night, then I have to get up early. That sucks, but you kind of just, that's what makes us fighters, I think, too. It's like we fight to get this shit done, regardless if we only get 3 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep. Sometimes I'm happy to get 4 hours of sleep, waking up feeling like I'm drunk. I haven't had a sip of alcohol in months, because I'm so tired. Then I'm like, fuck, now I got to go wrestle 250-pound dudes. So it's definitely, again, back to the mental. It's 80-90% mental, getting out of bed every day to do this shit, but definitely the want to be some, like, I don't know how to describe it. Just be great, you did something great in life. You did something. I think that's what keeps me going, for sure.
I remember when I first started watching this stuff, like 2003, 2004, you have people calling it human cockfighting. It wasn't legal everywhere. I mean, people thought this was like barbaric criminal activity. Now, I mean, it's blown up. And now you have a term that's called the casual fan. You have the people that you see at the B-dubs, you see in the stands who are drunk, saying something that you know what, you're humping each other, whatever. What is your thought on the casual fan?
I get it. Like if you're not in the life and you watch it, and you only watch it on the weekends and you don't even follow up after, like some of them don't even, they just literally comment on what they see, they see that and that's what it is, there's no backstory entitled. There's no follow up to what may happen behind that. It's just what they see. And if that's what you are, I guess I get it. It's just like, what gets me is when they actually argue with actual fighters. Like, that's what gets me. It's like when they're trying to educate them or something, then they want to argue with it. And they're like, oh no, it's this. And it's like, brother, I what? Like, it's like telling a professor that they're wrong, which in some cases you can be wrong, but it doesn't happen very often, I think they're funny, I enjoy them. Some of their comments on Instagram sometimes make my day, and then there's sometimes I read it and I'm just like, I want to just log out of Instagram and never log back in. But I feel like they're I like them. I appreciate a casual fan every now and again.
So we're fighting in the hometown next weekend, Iowa. What's the fight scene like in Iowa, man? What was it like when you first started doing this stuff?
So I came up kickboxing more than I was actually. I think I had more amateur kickboxing fights than I did amateur MMA fights. The circuit here in Iowa, it's damn near non-existent, if I'm being honest with you, for heavyweights. Like that's why another part of the reason why I had to get up out of here, because I got to the point where no one was fighting me. Thank you, Mark Currier, for actually wanting to fight me, because no one else around here wants to. So I guess soft would be the Iowa circuit when it comes to heavyweights, I guess. There's some good smaller guys out here for sure. My boy Jordan Hinman, he's a vet. He's coming towards the end of his career, but he's a big reason why I started fighting, actually. But then we have legends too. We got Robbie Lawler, we got Pat Miletich, we got Jeremy Stevens, we got Who else do we got? Matt Hughes. You know, we got some legends.
Pretty cool with Lawler.
Is that what?
Pretty cool training with Lawler with Iowa connection.
It is. You know, he always calls me. He always calls me Iowa too. He never calls me by my name. I don't even know if he knows my name. But that's because he calls me Iowa, which whatever. But yeah, it's great. I remember one time somebody got hurt in the gym. I can't remember who it was, but they got hurt. Something happened. Like they was actually hurt, and it was in the middle of a sparring round, and I wasn't sparring that day. And Robbie came over and was like talking to the other coach. He was like, "What's wrong?" They told him what's wrong. He was like, "Tell him stop being a pussy and keep going." Like, I'm just like, yeah, that's like the biggest Robbie Lawler. Like that, yeah, makes sense. And then I remember one dude was complaining about something hurting. Something. I looked at him. I'm like, you realize who you're complaining to, right? Like, like he doesn't care. He's keep fighting.
You know, you get a fight in your home state here. Do you feel like that's, you know, we're talking about the mental side a lot here. Feel like that makes you more at ease? Does that just relax you and calm you down going into the fight?
No, I hate it, to be honest. If I'd rather fight in somebody else's backyard than my own backyard. When I'm in the cage, I was just talking to my friend about that. When I'm in the cage, it all goes away, you know. I'm like, and they start cheering for me. That's when I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. But like right now, thinking about it, it's like, fuck hell, you know. I gotta fight in front of my family. My mama gonna be there. What if I get knocked out in front of my mama? Like, it's a stressful week until I get in there, but it's all stressful. To me, I got a time limit to beat, and then once I'm in the cage, all the nerves go away, and it's whatever. None of this matters anyway.
Do you feel like from where you're at in your career, is this a massive fight?
It's a title, so I guess it'll be my first title if I win. So when I win, so I guess yeah, you could say it's massive. Yeah. And do I think it's gonna propel me to the UFC now? No. Do I think it's gonna give me a contender shot or any bigger name fight? No. But it definitely is a milestone once I get a title. You know, it's my first regional title. So yeah.
You know, in the past, you fought for a title before. Unfortunately, crazy situation there. You had to withdraw. I think it was the day of, if I'm not mistaken. Was it pretty cool to get another opportunity to, you know, have a crack at a title?
Yeah, 100%. I have had obviously amateur titles, but that amateur titles. So and then I've won some pro kickboxing titles as well for XFN. I was their title. I had their title. And then, but yeah, it's cool. I'm excited. I'm not a big like belt guy. Like to me, I'm not the champion of the world, you know, like, so it doesn't really, I'm excited, you know, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't like, oh yeah, I'm a champion of respectfully Northern Iowa fights, you know, like cool, like great, I'm the champion, but like at the same time, humble yourself, you know, keep it humble.
You know, you just talked about your amateur career a little bit. One thing that's interesting with you, man, you had a very lengthy amateur career, like over 10 bouts. What was the decision between holding on as an amateur so long before you turned pro?
I wanted to lose, man. If I'm being 100%, if I'm being 100% honest with you, I wanted to find somebody that would beat me so I could like deal with losing before I went pro. And God damn it, it didn't happen. And it got to a point where I was like, all right. Then Bellator called and I was like, okay, well, I can't tell him no. Should have, but
All right, last question for you, Darion. In a perfect world, what is the outcome when you take on Mark Currier next week for your title fight?
I would like to choke him out. I've never gotten a submission. I can submit people. I've done it in practice. I can do it. So I would like to go choke him out, to be honest. That's how Bailey did it, and that's how I want to do it.
There you go. Well, Darion, my man, it was so nice talking to you once again, bro. Excited to see you get a title shot here, and look forward to watching you fight next week.
My dog, I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for us tonight. That is Mr. Darion Abbey on the Fight Dr. Carla Prusa.
Later.